As of March 1st, the city of Aurora gave its police officers permission to shoot at a moving vehicle in life-threatening situations involving officers and members of the public. The new rule states that officers should only use this method as a last resort. The new Aurora policy takes the opposite tack to how Denver police recently addressed the same issue. Now, David, I remember that you supported this issue when it was the Denver police policy that they had eventually reversed. Do I assume correctly that you're in favor of what Aurora has done?
I think Aurora is right, and what Denver has done is ultimately unconstitutional. It's one thing to say, oh, you know, you're at a traffic stop and then somebody speeds away unexpectedly, you know, and you pursue, don't shoot at that person. That's something that a police department can, within its discretion, say don't do that. But it's a different thing when there is an imminent threat of murder, when somebody in a car is trying to run over a police officer herself or some other innocent person. Aurora allows self-defense and defense of others in that exigent circumstance when there is no other alternative. Denver's policy, you can never shoot at a moving car. When it's trying to kill you and you've got no means to escape, that is inhumane. It devalues police lives, and I think it's unconstitutional because the Second Amendment, as explicated by the Supreme Court, includes the right of self-defense, which cannot be taken away from any individual, including a police officer. Their lives matter too.
Ben, Denver and Aurora take opposite views on a lot of different issues. This is not the first one. Who's right on this one?
Well, it's an interesting argument. Certainly, if you look at urban municipalities across the country, the tact has generally been to take away this ability to shoot at moving cars. Denver had a highly controversial incident that I think prompted the rule change here, where an unarmed teenager was shot and killed by an officer in an alley in a situation where she may have been trying to evade the police, but there may not have been a dangerous circumstance exactly. You know, it's complicated. Certainly we have to value and protect the lives of our police officers who are there to protect and serve us, but there's a fine line there. And my understanding of the research around this issue is that in most cases firing into a moving vehicle is not productive for the officer or for the person obviously in the car. So my sense is that Denver made the right move here. I think it's unusual to see basically an urban suburb go in this direction when the trend again across the country has been to restrict this sort of action. So I think it's highly unusual, and I suspect that as soon as something happens, it will become controversial.
Lisa, is Aurora protecting its police officers, or is it being tone deaf to recent events?
A little bit of both, which is always aggravating. I think it seems to me that they're being somewhat tone deaf, because if I were in a community, it sounds like they're saying it's okay. And the self-defense thing, it's like absolutely police have the right to defend themselves and their lives. And I think their lives matter extraordinarily. And I think most citizens probably feel this way as well. I certainly hope so. But I think at the same time, you're watching your community make a choice, or your police department sort of back off of something that in fact seems to be the best practice of a lot of police departments across the nation, and even is sort of suggested by police sympathetic organizations, that language, the sort of categorical quality of that language helps people make a real decision, as opposed to, and it's weird because when you're reading sort of the coverage, there's this way in which the police departments say the language is too categorical, but it's understood that you're not supposed to. And it's just like, you can't sort of have it both ways at this moment, and that sort of seems like. So I think that they're being somewhat tone deaf to the concerns of a number of citizens, and I'm also, and I actually think that police lives matter, yes, absolutely. But like the self-defense issue has been its own sort of very complicated psychological problem in terms of when people actually feel in danger. And that would be my fear.
Patty, Aurora is somewhat of an outlier in this now, since a lot of cities, including Denver, have reversed it. What do you think of their outlier status on this?
I think they'll probably wind up having to pull back as soon as they have an incident that clearly isn't self-defense. I agree with everyone at the table that you want your law enforcement agents to be able to defend themselves, especially from a huge car coming their way. But the problem in Denver stemmed from not just one, but 4 incidents where it was really questionable whether it was a matter of self-defense or whether they were just shooting at a miscreant in a vehicle, and there were several incidents where clearly it was a bad guy behind the wheel, but he wasn't going towards the police officers, he was just driving. And the problem then becomes, if you're shooting at someone and it goes out of control, you've got this huge car that is endangering others too. So I think Denver made the right move. They're just being more cautious when there is a bad guy behind the wheel coming at you, or maybe not coming at you. And Aurora might learn the hard way too, that you've got to be more careful.